Today, we're going to be building DUM-E from Iron Man. Let's get started. I'm basing this design off of the arm from the movie, so it should look, close to it. But when we start, it won't look exactly the same. At the end, I'll make it look more like the actual arm from the movie, but for now, it'll just be kind of the skeleton of the arm. These are linear actuators. These are the motors we'll be using for the first part. Here's the final design. I started by cutting the base out of some MDF board, pretty cheap, pretty solid for this project. Then I started designing the base mount that'll mount the square tubing to that circle I just cut out. So now I have to find the middle point of this circle, and I just looked it up on YouTube. This guy just took some paper, folded it in half, kind of got our center point, and then stuck the two sides at the edge of the circle and marked the middle. And you do that a bunch of times and you can find the center point of the circle. I just made sure it was aligned with the middle and I screwed it in. This hole in the middle will be used to rotate the entire arm in the next part. And this is the 1-inch aluminum rod we'll be using. Now I'm just attaching this part, which will actually break later on, spoiler alert. And this is the main T-joint where the arm will pivot. And now it's time to mount it. This part also acts as kind of like a spacer between the bearings and the tube, so there's a lot less play. Now I'm attaching the T-joint and connecting the two arms together. And here's what it looks like compared to the drawing. And now we move on to the end joint, and this will control the upper tube's up and down movement. For this joint, I'm using a smaller rod, and I've 3D printed spacers so they can fit inside the bearings that I already had. This piece will go between the end joint and the motor and allow the motor to move the upper arm up and down. So I later changed this. It's kind of flimsy, it doesn't have enough strength if you flatten the entire thing, and it just looked bad. Now you can see how it'll move when it has the motor attached. In the process of picking up and moving the arm, this bottom part snapped off pretty easily actually. So I kind of decided that this part's really not needed. So I just drill straight into the tube. Then I realized that there's too much space in between, so I had to 3D print these spacers to stop it from moving so much. Here's the new arm. This time I didn't bend the entire thing, just the end part that'll go into the end joint. So it's much stronger and easier to mount. I got to work on the circuit for the robot arm. This will only be for testing, so nothing too permanent. I'm using a breadboard, some patch wires, and a battery. Here's some ASMR. So as a brief overview, these blue things on the right are motor controllers, so they'll be used to make the motor go up and down. The left piece is a microcontroller, an Arduino Mega, and of course buttons, and these are resistors that help read the button inputs. Now I have to put some extra solid wiring on these wires so I can just stick them straight into the boards. And here's what it looks like in the end. So I started working on some code. To put it simply, it'll read the button's input and control whether the motor extends or retracts. I ran into an error where I could get the blue buttons to work, but I couldn't get the green buttons to work. It was really weird. I double and triple checked the wiring and it was all correct. So I couldn't really figure out what was making it not work. I tried moving the button outputs to a different port, thinking that maybe something was wrong with the port it was using, and that did not work. I finally figured out the issue, so now when I press the button, it responds to each one of the buttons. So it wasn't a wiring issue, it's just a coding issue. All right, fingers crossed. Here we go. Just kidding. Nothing exploded. Hey. So yeah, it worked. So now all we gotta do is just mount this thing onto the robot and it'll be moving. So I just gotta do 2 screws for each one of these and then put the pins in. And we should. All was going well until I ran into this problem. It is not supposed to do that. So I started 3D printing something to get that fixed, but in the meantime I'll cut off this piece and mount the other motor. The piece to fix the bending issue finally finished printing, so I was able to add that on. And this is what it looks like all together. Now I'll just kind of play around with it for a while just to see how fast it moves. In the future, I'd like that upper arm to move a little bit faster. The bottom one moves pretty fast for my liking. But yeah. So that'll be all for part one. Come back for the next video where I add the other motors to the edge, and then I'll probably do something about the speed of here, with how close it is. I'll build the box for the thing and have it be able to spin. So yeah, that'll be in the next one. Peace.